Jessica, today Kelsey's dad, Lance Briggs, was granted administrative rights over Kelsey's estate. Now what that means essentially is that he has the right to sue if he chooses. For the first time since Kelsey's death last month, Radon Smith-Porter showed up in public. She cried as she sat in the courtroom. Kelsey's father, Lance Briggs, requested court transcripts and DHS documents leading up to Kelsey's death. Briggs was also given administrative rights to Kelsey's estate, something Radon's lawyers didn't want.
To say that there's not any animosity in this case is not telling the truth. There is, and I think that the court should have heard that and did hear that.
Radon was called to testify, but never reached the stand.
I didn't feel at this time it was the right time to present her. There is a good possibility we will at a later date.
Radon is one of the few people in the case not to speak out. Her attorney says she's innocent and answered questions for her as she left the courtroom.
Radon, do you expect any more charges to be filed in this case?
We have totally cooperated with the police, and we continue to cooperate with the police and law enforcement, and we will do so until this case is over with.
Now, also today, we know Radon filed a counterclaim to the divorce request Michael Porter requested a few weeks back. Now, Michael Porter, of course, is the stepfather of Kelsey, who's in jail right now, accused of murder. We also know that Porter is the father of the baby Radon is carrying right now, although it is still too early to tell what will happen to that baby once it's born, whether or not DHS will take custody of the child. Reporting live in Chandler, Tim Sakahara, Eyewitness News 5.
We also learned today through court testimony that Radon lied on the witness stand during her divorce proceedings with Kelsey's father, Lance Briggs. She said she wasn't pregnant at the time with Kelsey when in fact she was.
This police report was used as evidence in the critical hearing when Kelsey was sent back to live with her mom. But the story in this document is quite different than the DHS report released last week. It's hard to keep the beat with a broken bone. Doctors say the broken collarbone could have been an accident, but the bruises they found underneath Kelsey's tiny clothes weren't. So they called Meeker police, who began their investigation. The ER doctor told police the child's bruising did not appear to be caused by merely falling, and stated the number of bruises and the locations made him feel that abuse may be happening, and he wanted it reported to police. Mom told police Kelsey got the bruises on her face when she fell out of bed. She didn't know Kelsey had these bruises. But while police were investigating, it was okay for Kelsey to stay with Kathy Briggs, her grandma and dad's side, because she did not want DHS involved. The same bruises doctors called abuse, the police officers called an accident, saying in his opinion the bruises on Kelsey's back and buttocks happened at a different time than the broken collarbone. As part of the investigation, the officers went to Radon's apartment, which they reported as very clean and well-maintained, with no items lying around. By Kelsey's bed, they found a slide and a hairbrush lying on the floor, along with Kelsey's toys and dolls. Police went on to say the marks observed on Kelsey's buttocks came from falling on the hairbrush in her bedroom while running around without clothes on. We also believe the broken collarbone occurred when Kelsey climbed out of her crib and landed on the slide. And despite doctors' concerns, the investigating officers decided there is no need for this department to continue this investigation at this time. We feel that Smith has not placed her child in any danger and is not abusing Kelsey physically or otherwise. DHS did get involved and tell a very different story. Their investigation indicates that the mother's stories regarding the night of the incident were conflicting. Based on the injuries received, the mother's denial of seeing the bruising on her child and no plausible explanation of the bruising, DHS confirmed abuse against the mother. Kelly?
And Britain, the Meeker Police Department says it cannot comment on the report because the case is under a
outside the courthouse for a group of citizens who claim cries to help an abused child when ignored.
We begged, we made phone calls, we sent emails, asking to be heard. Nobody wanted to listen.
Sigmund says she noticed the 29 bruises and broken collarbone on 2-year-old Kelsey back in January. Kelsey was removed from her mother's home, but a judge returned her back there where authorities say she died after she was beaten by her stepfather. Protesters say the blame also lies with Kelsey's mother, Radon Porter.
I think she has a lot. If not the actual abuser, then one that knew about it.
Last week, News 9 went to her mother for answers. Radon, who broke Kelsey's legs? DHS officials have not released the entire case file surrounding Kelsey's death, a source of frustration for those who say they continually watched her suffer.
If they don't have anything to hide, why are they not releasing the records?
The law says we don't provide the information, and so we're not providing the information.
Protesters moved their rally to DHS. They say in addition to answers, they want to raise awareness about neglected, abused children.
I would like to ask the judge, and I would like to ask the DHS workers who helped make this decision, would they have put their own children back into that home? Are they that sure of themselves?
And those protesters have written this letter to Governor Henry asking him to release those DHS records to the family of Kelsey.
The 600-page DHS file is getting some attention, and the people who have it don't want it out. Even DHS is trying to make sure if it is released, it doesn't end up in our hands. As we're about to show you, Britton Follett isn't taking no for an answer. Britton?
Hey, lawmakers, bring your letter openers because an envelope like this is going to be on your desk, and we want to hear from you. While Kelsey was reading, Smith-Briggs was writing. Hundreds of emails asking for help. In black and white, the 2-year-old names the man who police say eventually killed her.
I emailed every one of the legislatures in June. I sent them a 4-page letter, and I got response back from 2.
Hoping for a little better response, I took a page out of Grandma's book and decided to write a letter of my own, or 152 letters. Armed with paper and plenty of ink, I wrote all 48 state senators, 102 state representatives, the lieutenant governor, and the governor, asking for help. Asking them to request Kelsey's 600-page DHS file and court transcripts, because we believe it's in the public's best interest to let us see them.
Let's see what went wrong. If there's nothing to hide, give us the document.
Jaws dropped on June 14th when Judge Craig Key gave 2-year-old Kelsey Smith-Briggs back to her mom, Ray Dawn, who had lost custody of Kelsey months earlier. And while the court transcripts haven't been released yet, the people sitting in that courtroom tell us what they say really happened. Out of the 13 people who testified that day, one woman's recommendation shocked them. After months of documented abuse, the volunteer assigned to Kelsey's case recommended to the court Kelsey be returned to her mother's custody. The information that the Casa volunteer used to make that decision has some shaking their heads.
She stated this was her first case. She stated who she interviewed. She stated that she only dealt with parents.
Which means she didn't interview the 2 people who had custody of Kelsey. Were either you or your husband ever interviewed by the Casa worker?
No.
So, who did she interview?
The best I remember, Ray Dawn, Mike, her own sister that worked with Ray Dawn, and her grandmother, and I believe she interviewed the daycare lady.
Sources tell us Grandma's right. She didn't interview anyone on Dad's side.
Casa was formed to be the independent voice speaking up for the best interest of the child. So to be able to have an independent voice making an independent recommendation, you have to be able to talk to all the parties that are involved.
A few months after the Casa worker recommended the judge give Kelsey back to Ray Dawn, Kelsey's family noticed more bruises, called the Casa worker, and Kelsey's family says the Casa worker told them now it may be time to once again take Kelsey away from Ray Dawn and Mike Porter, now the only person charged with Kelsey's murder.
And I told her, I said, something is not right. And she told me, she said, Terry, my gut feeling tells me that I have got to get Kelsey away from that home.
A few months too late. 2 months later, Kelsey was dead. We're still waiting for the court transcripts to find out who else testified at that hearing and what their recommendations were. Back to you.
All right, Britton. Lincoln County Casa says it cannot comment on Kelsey's case due to confidentiality.